Welcome to another edition of the Royal Alliance UK podcast, episode number 87. It's a fake! My name's Matthew Turner. I'm joined by my co-hosts Ant, Ryan and Martin. How you doing, boys?
I'm feeling very good today. You know what? Everyone said we were going to get absolutely battered yesterday. We did not. We put in a very good performance. And, I feel a lot better than I have the last few weeks.
I've got mixed emotions. I feel like we've improved in some areas, but I feel like we've regressed in some others. But no, like I say, scoreline wasn't too bad. I'd say we did ourselves justice. Like I say, I think it was one of those games where they had a lot more to lose than we did, and they played like it. They were more cautious. But no, I felt like we took some chances. Like I say, on a different day, maybe things go our way. Who knows? Like I say, but I feel like going into next week, like I feel better. Like with this win's coming. It wasn't yesterday, but I feel like it could be very soon.
How you doing, Martin?
Yeah, not too well. Understatement to say not too bad actually, but never mind. I'll ignore that. I would say I'm a little bit the same as Ryan. I think it seems like some weeks one step forward. I guess that's going to be this season. But
Come back to us,
agree?
Martin.
I think this week's a match. It's back.
Yep.
Yeah, I think this is the first one I had down as a winnable week. So let's see how it goes.
Just before we get into this, don't forget to join our Discord, which is a hotbed of activity during game days and all the way through the week. Give us a DM if you want to get in on that. Don't forget our new college football podcast that airs every Wednesday. Just did our first live one, which was a roaring success. Don't forget to like and sub each of our videos if you can. It's a massive, massive impact on us. So thanks very much. Thanks to you guys for watching along live. If you are at the moment, Dunbar, Rams House, a couple of the rest of you guys, really appreciate that. Let's hit a bit of the news before we go into the game. A couple of injury-related bits which are really disappointing. Logan Stenberg has been placed on injured reserve with an undisclosed injury, and he's now out at least 3 weeks. It looks like it might be Tommy Kramer's to pick up from the practice squad. He had a good pre-season, made the practice squad. I think he was a UDFA from Notre Dame, if my memory serves. Cheers, Ryan. Got a question. Oh no, just a statement from Matthew Stafford. This team is still fun to watch, even at 0-7. Absolutely right. Another piece of injury news: AJ Parker could be, quote, down for a while, per MCDC. So you've got your stud UDFA slot corner going out, and someone who has decided that he wants to be a part of this team and really come into his own, actually. And, when he's been called upon, he's done much, much better this season. So disappointing for Logan Stenberg, but Parker's going to be a big miss, especially when we have a look at what Darryl Worley managed to pull out last night. That's going to hit us hard, boys, isn't it?
Whoever's out... Sorry, go on, Ryan.
I'm just going to say, Stenberg's not a miss. The guy hadn't done anything for 2 years. Like, he was barely ever in the building anyway. He was here in body and spirit, but not on the field. So him going out, I hope he's okay, but makes no bit of difference. But Parker, like you say, great line of scrimmage. I think he set the franchise record for tackles for loss. He's an animal when it comes to playing in man coverage. Like I say, he's a very solid tackler. He'd look good in the nickel. Like I say, Waller, 17 snaps, gave up 7 receptions. That's quite incredible. I think this could make us buyers at the minute now, that this could actually lead us to make a move at corner if he's going to be down a while, because if it sounds like he's not going back anytime soon either. But no, like I say, it's another body lost, like I say, and it's hopefully it's not too serious, but luckily it's happened now in the rookie year, we've seen enough, that he's safe to hopefully be here for the next few years. So hopefully we see him again this year, but he's got a good body of work, to pick up a knock, is unfortunate, and hold him in a really good stretch of games.
Whoever's out there kicking a black cat repeatedly to ensure that we get these horrible injury issues, could you please pack it in? I'm sick and tired of our good players going down. If he starts playing well, he goes down injured. Parker's playing well, he goes down injured. You know, can we please stop it? You know, we want some of these players to stay healthy for the future.
I mean, I realise that Darryl Worley has been a bit of a journeyman and he's a bit of a project. He's someone that you'd chance your arm on by taking him, but he played 17 snaps in this game. He had 3 targets, of which he gave up 2 receptions for 64 yards and a touchdown, including a really big reception to Cooper Kupp on a 3rd and long, deep in LA territory to flip the field, when the game was really on the line, and it was the one snap, or one of the few snaps that Alexander Zolone came off the field, and it really showed. I mean, he looked like he was wading through mud. Like, he looked so slow.
What we should have learned by now is bringing these vets in is no good for this team. We've seen it so many years under Patricia. He brings in these veterans. They're just here for a payday. They're not here looking for redemption or anything. And they come in and they play poor. You know, at the start of the season, we've put undrafted free agents in there. We've put Price in there, Parker in there, Jacobs in there. Look at them. Look how they are flourishing in this team because they are actually fighting for a place here. They're fighting to prove a point and for their future. That's why we've got these young, hungry guys here. And you know what? We should just keep going with them. I'm at this point now where I don't care if we're low on cover or anything. These veterans are just not trustworthy. We've seen it under Patricia and we've seen it again. I'm done with them. Let's just get the kids in there and get them, you know, get them game time because they want to be here. Jacobs and Parker are 2 of the standouts from this year. Price has done well this year. I mean, hell, he got a reception yesterday. Big up for him, but I'd rather these guys who are in here trying to prove a point get in there. Worley's doing nothing and he's going to be gone soon.
Well, I think for me, it's Nicole Rolby-Coleman season. He's been hanging on the practice squad all this time, and I mean, he's an established vet who actually has had some good tape with this coaching staff in the past, at least in the secondary coaching staff. So, you know, there's no point in us keeping him on the practice squad if he's not going to come in this situation. This is what he's here for. So I fully expect him to come in at start at slot corner now. But is there anyone else? Is there anything else that you would do? I mean, who else can we bring in at? You say you want to play the kids, but what kid is there to play in the slot here?
Why wasn't Bobby Price on the? Why didn't he come into the slot? Like bringing it on, like say, a Waller that's a bit of a stranger. Everyone just seemed a bit confusing. Like say, at least he would have probably had some pace because he's fairly quick. At least he might have done a little bit better keeping up with Cup. So it was an odd play to throw Wally on, like you say. But no, like you say, we've got Mark Gilbert. Like you say, he wasn't active, but he's on the active roster. He's slowly getting up to pace, but.
He might need a little time, though, right?
Anyone other than Waller.
Yeah. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if he got cut. I know that we need bodies, but God, dear Lord.
Martin, axed, I think. Now.
Yeah. What did you think, Martin, from the corners in this game? Because Parker going down's a big loss.
Wally's stats are horrible from yesterday. In fact, probably worse than I imagined they were. 7 snaps, 64 yards allowed. You know, I think what the biggest fear because of the season wasn't it was the thin squad that we had would be exposed really quickly if we got some injuries. And like Andy at the start, we're getting some really big injuries that are going to, you know, make those 50-50 games pretty difficult at the moment. So, yeah, it's tough going at the moment, but it's what we choose to do from here, whether we are going to have some movement on players or not, or carry on going with the ones that we've got. I don't know. I'm open on both, really. But, yeah, again, I agree with Ant in terms of the younger players. They're really shining at the moment, and particularly given what's difficult around them. So, yeah, the future looks bright from that account. I think it's just getting through some of these difficult weeks with the injuries that we've got.
Hell, you know, even at this point, I'd be tempted just to kick CJ Moore out there in his place. You know, if I know he's at safety, but hell, I'd move him around a bit there. These are the young guys who are doing well. I mean, you even look at Reeves Maben had a great game yesterday. I mean, all the young guys are out there trying to prove a point. Just give more the snaps. Worley just offers nothing and doesn't look interested. He doesn't look in shape either. You know, at this point where we are, put the kids in because the kids are getting the job done.
Yeah, I mean, Mark Gilbert is the one that Ryan just mentioned that interests me the most, just because, you know, at least he showed something in college and then got injured. You know, it wasn't the quality of his play which cost him his spot in the NFL as a draftee, but just poor injury history, and he's fit now. So if he can come in and be that backup, the next guy up now, as someone else fills the slot, and then he can be the guy to fill in for an injury, I think that could be quite exciting to see how that all shakes out. Just looking at the cornerbacks that are still available.
Problem with it.
Sorry.
I was going to say the problem with you know, filling the team with younger players is that it's all right at the moment, guys, as well. So it's gone to shit again.
It's not the best, Martin. I'm not going to
Can
lie.
you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you just about. But at the vital moment, it seems to go again.
I don't know what the problem is tonight, but yeah, I was just saying that obviously, you know, their confidence can suffer after a while if it's loss after loss after loss, particularly from not having those experienced guys around them. But yeah, it's a fine line to tread that one.
Yeah, it really is. Okay, so 2021 cornerback free agents. We still have Quentin Dunbar out there. I think he got released once again, so God knows we could give him another try. There's a few guys on here that I recognise, but I'm not sure if they've actually been picked up by someone else. Buster Screen, still my favourite named player in the NFL. I think he played for Chicago and was famous for actually not being very good. DJ Hayden's still there. It doesn't look great.
No, let's pack it in with all these free agents. There's a reason they're free agents this far into a season. At the minute right now, you just have to go with what you got. Jacobs is standing up really well. Amani had a good game yesterday. You know, he was the third graded defender that we had out there. I know he's been a bit inconsistent, but we only benefit from these young guys getting as much time as possible. We'll just get by somehow. Like I say, use CJ Moore around a bit. Do what you need to do. But just give these young guys the opportunity because they're more than proving their point out there. And we're finding a lot of depth guys this year, which we didn't think we might do. And it's going to be critical going forward. So let's not stunt any of that by just getting these random guys off the market who are there for a reason. The ones who are already here want to prove that they can be here, and they're doing so.
Last bit of news was highlighted by Rams House. And what up, though, to Rams House? He let us know that Kenny Young has, well, maybe not as a result of this game, but we ended his Rams career. I'm just going to say that now. He's been traded to the Broncos for a 7th round pick in return for a 6th. So, traded for a 6th in return for a 7th as well. So, pick swap. Kenny Young, in terms of defense, didn't have a best day as a mid linebacker, graded 53.1, one of their worst rated players on the day. But his defense played really well, so maybe he kind of stuck out like a sore thumb there. Let's move on and talk a bit more about the game in general to start with. So, you know, the Lions started out hot. We were taking chances. We looked like a team that said really that we had nothing to lose. And, you know, Campbell effectively put his bollocks on the table and said, there you go. Like, were you guys, you know, pounding the table as excited as I was? Or were you like, oh, this is new?
It was part of the offense that we knew that we could do. You know, we've had games this season against the Ravens, against the Packers, against the 49ers, where the offense has been very hard to contain. And, you know, they just set the tempo right away. It was really good to see them come out and be as fresh as they were. I said the other week, if we wanted a chance in this one, you have to establish your run game early, really get at that defensive line and get into the linebackers with your running backs. And that's exactly what we did. And we mixed in the right amount of passing with it. They couldn't put as much pressure on Goff. We executed the perfect game plan to start off with. And the Rams didn't have they struggled to stop us, really. It was really good to see them come out the way they did. They'd done their homework and they executed well.
I think it was to be expected. They knew they were going to.
It was, you know, I think.
You go, Martin.
It's okay. I'll try and sort this out first.
All right, Ryan, you go ahead.
It didn't surprise me, no. I think it made sense that we took what the defense gave us. Like say, when they come out with that dial, they send everyone on a house blitz, cover zero. Like saying Goff knows he's got about a second to get the ball out or get his head caved in. That check down to Swift, like say, made perfect sense. Like he pretty much knew that were coming. I feel like from his time in LA that he might have had an idea what those first few snaps would have looked like. They'd have wanted to send pressure early, so they planned for that. Like say, he got it out quickly. Swift did what he does, took it to the house. And then there was a few too many times running up the middle. Like in the first half, the Rams defense was very stout in the middle. There was a few 1 and 2 yard runs, which were a bit frustrating, like you say. But when we got outside, everything automatically looked a bit better. Like I say, Swift probably had his best game of his career. He mixed up very well in the passing. Williams, I wasn't sure about. I think Williams may have had a bit of a knock. He seemed to leave the field for large periods at time, but I feel like they planned for this. Like I say, this was the kind of game. Brock Wright, he had some okay blocks in the first half. Like they did a bit more 2 tight end kind of stuff set, which was nice to see. Even 3, like they'd have Swift running behind, like say Fells and Wright, which actually helped set the edge. So for the first half, we kept Aaron Donald. He was an absolute passenger. He did absolutely nothing in that first half because Jackson and Sewell kicked his ass, like I say, and punched him in the face at times too. So the first half was really nicely disciplined. Offense was pretty good until it got to the red zone. But everything between like the 20-yard lines was pretty much spot on.
You back with us now, Martin?
Well, I'm going to try. I'm now using my phone to see if I can get my point across. So let's see.
Sounds much better, mate.
Right, so I'm using 4G, not Wi-Fi. That's how bad the Wi-Fi is. So I think for me, it was the full capability of what we've got at the moment that we saw yesterday. I think that was the team playing to its max for me that we've currently got on the field. It's just a lack of talent that's going to stop us, getting some of these wins against teams like the Rams. We're not at the level of the Rams, and I don't think anyone expects us to be. But what I loved yesterday is ballsy play. So, from the first touchdown to then go for the onside kick, loved that. Loved it. Just go for it. I just wanted to see. I enjoyed the game yesterday much more than I ever did in 3 years of Patricia. Even though we lost the game, I think you saw a team that, even though it's 0-7, you can see the direction that the team's going in. You can see the players believe in the coach. The fans, even at 0-7, enjoying the football, and I think it's going to be a difficult season. We knew it was going to be a difficult season, and the injuries are making that even more so. But I just love some of the play calling yesterday. I loved going for it on 4th down a number of times. We just haven't got the talent to execute the way that we would like to, but I think that's promising for the future. And the signs are positive for me, even though, like I say, we're alone in the 0 wins column at the moment. But yeah, I'm happy enough at the moment in the direction that the franchise is going in. I think we can add to a lot at the end of the season, and then just see that progress all the time.
Put it this way, I look at teams like the Jags, the Jets, the Texans, etc. I'd rather be us right now from what I'm seeing.
I'd agree.
These sides. I agree with you, Martin, and I love the aggressive play calling as well. I think it set the tone. I think in this season, when we're not the best team in the world, and we have some deficiencies, just be aggressive and go for it. Balls to the wall, see what your players are made of. And for this part, like they say, the players stepped up to do it. I didn't even disagree with not going for the field goal. I thought it was right to go. We need more than field goals to beat the Rams. So if we may as well go for it and give it a try rather than
for me, it's all about learning the season. And I think it's those rookies and, and getting in the scheme that Campbell wants to play. And, I've been really impressed with, and not every week, but the defense again this week, I thought handled the Rams reasonably well. I really like Aaron Glenn. I saw an article somewhere on Twitter, I can't remember who it was from today, where it's talking about, making the most of Aaron Glenn because he's a head coach waiting to happen. And I think I would definitely agree with that. If you consider how we look defensively compared to how we thought we may struggle this season. And yeah, we've still not won any games, but they've handled a lot of decent QBs so far this season. But yeah, I'm just happy with the steps in the right direction at the moment. And, it does make me excited about the years to come. I think we've got the right guy in charge. I think we've got some pieces there that will continue to get better. But obviously the biggest piece I think is still required in terms of a QB. I don't think Goff's the one going forward. But then I'm really interested in Ant and Ryan's take on QBs in the draft class, because from what I can read and understand, it doesn't look like it's going to be a great class next year.
I mean, that's your invite, boys. College football podcast, Roar the Lions, boys. Quarterback.
I think really the overall thing to say about it is these are all, there's not a bona fide starter there who's going to come in and immediately change your franchise. You're investing in your future. And I think I was talking with Taib earlier in the chat, I think this, with the likes of Herbert coming around at that, there is now an unrealistic expectation on quarterbacks for them to come straight in and be a game changer, but that's not the case. You've got to sit them for a bit and let them settle. And that's never been more truer than with this class. You're going to need to let them sit for a year and learn. They're not going to be able to come in and make an instant difference.
I think, I think everybody appreciates that. And I think it's whether we decide to use our first draft pick on one next year.
Take it, Ryan.
No chance.
Yeah.
I think it's pretty much a given that at least 7 out of the top 10 quarterbacks next year's draft will be a complete bust. They will just flat out fail. Like, it's such a high risk. Like you say, I could not in any world consider using a top 3 pick on any of the quarterbacks next year. Like I say, I'm only willing to go that high on a quarterback who will start from day one. But nearly every quarterback in this draft needs at least 18 months. And that's if Goff is going to be a good mentor, if they're willing to sit and learn. But I don't feel comfortable picking a quarterback anywhere before 30. Like, I will leave it till, if I'm going to go for a project, I'd rather take a 2nd round flyer on someone, like you say, because the first is just too valuable. But no, I'm
so
getting
then
questions.
So then it's, it's a case of do we have a second year of Goff next year and then look for the year after?
I think that was always the plan. It was either give him 2 years and he works and, good for us, one less pick we've got to spend, or you give him the 2 years and by then the team's going to be a lot more on the way to being complete, a lot better situation for a rookie to be drafted into. I think that was always the plan. One of those 2 options was going to be the inevitable outcome.
I mean, part of me does feel like we aren't exactly giving him the tools there to show what he's best at, but then we're not seeing a great deal from what he does have. So it's a difficult one, really.
I think that if we gave him the tools, he wouldn't make the best of them, and then he would be wasting the talent that we have there. It's a horrible situation where it's half of one or half of another, and you can't have the whole bloody thing. So I agree with you, Martin. We're not giving him the best chance to succeed, but I just don't believe in his ability to do it anyway.
Well, yesterday, no sacks, 1 quarterback hit, 7 pressures all game. That was it. That was all the offensive line gave up against the Rams team, which is going to cause a lot more pressure against a lot better teams. We gave him every chance yesterday to sit in the pocket and be comfortable.
And to be fair to him, he did have, apart from the interception, he did have a better day than he has had. He had a few really tight window throws, especially to Raymond, that came off. I did see improvement from him, apart from that one brain fart at the end, which ended the game. But he kept us in it to a small extent. We ran the ball exceptionally well, which really helped it, though. Sorry. I was just going to say what up, though, to a few of the guys who've joined, by the way. So we've got Luke G is in the house. What up, though, Luke G? We've got Rock Howard, who's joined. We've had Kurt Steele from Detroit Lions on the Proud podcast coming in. Thank you very much for joining us, man. couple of others who I've missed. One Pride 40 is also in the house. Sorry, Ryan.
No, it's fine. I was just going to say, I disagree. I did not see that improvement. He can feel his boots between like across halfway, and that's fine. But in the red zone, he's useless. There were more plays as well. I counted 2 more plays where he chose not to throw the ball away, and one of them ended in a sack. He has got no mental capacity whatsoever. There must be a monkey in a cymbals on some downs that goes on in his head, because you just shout at the TV like, just fucking throw it away. Like, I'm not like the strange play with Vitaly. I don't understand if he's trying to throw the ball away because it'd be grounding, or if he's trying to be stupid and realise, oh, he's an eligible receiver, but I'll throw it to him anyway. That play absolutely confusing. What on earth was Goff seeing or doing? Because he was in the pocket. He just bemuses me.
Is Vitaly touching that ball making it not grounding, and it saved us 5 yards? Like, I don't actually really understand what happened there, because there was no eligible receiver in the area.
We still got penalised because he was an eligible receiver downfield. So either way, I don't think we saved anything.
No, but it's 5 yards for illegal touching and 10 for grounding. So,
well, I'm gone. Yeah, we have had issues, but I'm going to defend Goff a bit. He did do better yesterday. Goff did. He made some good throws. In fairness, there was one to Raymond, which was an over-the-shoulder one of the cornerback, and it was perfectly put in a bag. There was one to Fells, which was put in such a tight gap. You know, there was some improvement there yesterday. Obviously, I'm not saying it's the be-all and end-all, and he's great again, but you know, he did have a bit more time, and he did make some good throws that we haven't seen so far, which is encouraging. You know, but I think the most important thing was yesterday that the run game got going. You can see how much better this offense is when the run game's going and takes the pressure off him. But as Ryan's mentioned, it's just in the red zone, it's really bad. The plays, you know, for whatever reason, people are missing assignments. The pick on Hawk, the receivers are so close to one another that it makes it easier for Ramsey to cover. If you spread them out a bit and you make him, you know, that catch is made by Hawk. It's just, yeah. But, you know, I've got to give Goff his props. He did better yesterday.
I mean, I think it's an indictment on him that we think he did better, because it still wasn't great. You'd ideally have your quarterback playing at that level most of the time, but it was an improvement.
What was his passer rating yesterday, out of interest?
Oh, that's a very good question. I will have for you in just a moment. If my internet wants to work.
I looked through all the stats earlier and then...
quarterback rating, I know that's not passer rating. Quarterback rating of 39.6. Passer rating 70.1.
But to be fair, that second interception was never an interception. It clearly hits the ground. It clearly moves. So that killed his rating, stone dead in the water. But like I say, it didn't matter. But that was a horrible call. That was just the refs rubbing salt in the wounds in the Lions, because he didn't control it whatsoever.
Yeah, that's fair. Right. I'm just going to go through the game quickly and highlight some of the key moments. So, first off, had a nice conversion on third down to kind of hit the ground running. Swift converted that, and then he had the massive touchdown. Rams brought the house, full blitz, and, you know, called the screen. Swift almost looked like he stumbled to begin with, and then took it to the house, which was great. Onside kick we've already discussed was recovered by Tracy Walker. So, you know, contributing to the really good day he had generally. Then in that possession, we're out at midfield having recovered that. We go 3 and out, and the fake punt succeeds. Throw by Fox to Bobby Price. And you could hear Mark Sanchez, who's a prick. You could hear Mark Sanchez say that, you know, seasoned QB vets are going to struggle making that play because it's a 9-yard hitch to Bobby Price. It's a really well-run route. It's a well-thrown ball right in the area it needs to be. So that was impressive. Maybe we found the guys to succeed, Goff, eh? After that, a couple of issues. We had the illegal touching, which Ryan mentioned earlier. We had the DPI on Jacobs, which I know Ant might want to speak about in a moment because he was incensed by that. Otherwise, we had Julian Aquara getting his second sack of the season, second game in a row with a sack. It's the first time in his career he's got back-to-back sacks. I've got to say, though, I think he was pretty lucky to actually have one credited on him because he feathered Stafford and Stafford fell to the floor. I mean, barely touched him. Another fake punt in the following possession. So lovely direct snap to CJ Moore as the personal protector who, I mean, the Lions just had leverage on that side of the play. I mean, it just seemed inevitable to me that they were going to make that conversion. So I don't know what the Rams were playing at. Unfortunately, in that possession that they gained, they turned it over on downs, running up the gut twice on 3rd and 4th and 1 and not converting. One of the few times that Jamal and Swift struggled to convert in that position in the game. But in the subsequent possession, we turned away the Rams on 4th and 1. So, you know, it was a really nice play by Julian Okwara in the flat, from his outside linebacker position, in coverage, facing away from the ball, but he got his hands up in position and managed to make the play. We then had a touchdown, which perhaps should have been. Goff threw the ball as hard as I've ever seen him throw a ball to Swift. You know, like kind of Swift was in the wrong position, but he could have walked in for a touchdown if the ball was perhaps slightly easier for him. And then Rams kind of drifted down to the end zone. Really nice conversion on 3rd and long to Tyler Higbee to set up the second of Cooper Kupp's touchdowns in motion. You can't catch him doing that. And it was the second time that the Rams caught us out on the goal line with mismatches, which was really frustrating. And then, obviously, the Goff interception killed the game. Donald got pressure up in the middle, forced Goff to throw quickly and without following through. Routes, obviously, as Ant said, not run as neatly as they could have been. There's a few moments in there, boys, where, again, in crucial moments, the Lions just seem to not be able to step it up. I'm not talking about the trickery, the fake punts, the onside kicks, but moments you get in every game, the 3rd and 1s, the 4th and 1s, the goal line plays, you know, all of these plays where you have to be able to be good in these scenarios to succeed in the NFL, and it just doesn't like we're up to it at the moment. And I don't know whether that's a lack of talent, as Martin was alluding to. I don't know if it's a lack of scheming, being prepared for those situations. What do you think is the Lions' issue with situational play?
For me, I'll say, like, I know not everyone agrees, but for me, like, we went from being aggressive to pushing our luck. We had a bad drive. Next minute, like you say, we're fake punt. Oh, miraculous, like you say. And then, like you say, we're into field goal range. We're in field goal range when we didn't deserve to be. Like, we did not deserve points. And then we tried to do this silly hurry up where we were never going to get that 4th down conversion because they were stacked in the middle. They saw it coming so quickly. Like, for me there, I know field goals don't win games, but neither does 0 points. If you just take the chip shot, you live to fight another day. Like I said, that was a little bit of momentum. That would have been a steal. If we'd have got 3 points off of a fake punt, like I said, that would have been fantastic. That annoyed me, and it wasn't because of the play design. It's just, I think that was a little bit of too aggressive, got a little bit carried away. Like I say, I think some of those plays, like we've seen these like red zone goal line defense, we know it's not great. We don't always get lined up correctly. Like I say, we can easily be confused. Like just bringing Cup in and then sending Cup out again. Guys that aren't quick enough, like that was quite frustrating. 3rd downs, I don't know what it is about Lions on 3rd down. Like I say, someone says it's lack of talent. I say, like you say, it's not doing your objective because you only have one objective on a 3rd and long, and that's keep everything in front of you. And we have been one of the worst teams in the league at doing it. We just can't get off the field. If we possibly had stopped them on 1 or 2 of them 3rd downs, this game could have been very different. Like, it's just those small things. They can be easily fixed, but we're seeing them quite regular. Like giving up big 3rd down conversions in all the close losses. We've blown at least 1 or 2 big 3rd downs, and it becomes more and more noticeable, and it becomes more and more frustrating for the fans because, you know, like say the guys are there, they can make the plays, but it's just like say lack of concentration sometimes, and it's just these small things add up to one big thing, like say, and that game should have been closer in points. Not necessarily a win, but I think on that final drive, we could have been going for a game-tying score and not for some miraculous thing.
I think that's cost us 2 wins, hasn't it, anyway, from not being able to get off the field on that, allowing teams to come through. You know, at the moment with this team that if you're a score in front with, 30 seconds even left on the clock, you're not guaranteed of a win because they can't get off the field and make that stop. So to me, it does still come back down to a lack of talent there, because I just don't think we have the players to make those stops.
Yeah, it's frustrating to me because you've got to know that Aaron Glenn is going out there saying, well, in this goal line drive, there are going to be two guys you need to, there's going to be several guys on the Rams team you're going to need to look out for, but the two that I would want to look out for the most are Tyler Higbee, because he's a beast in the red zone, just always seems to pop up with a touchdown, and Cooper Kupp, because he's the fastest player on the field who's got the best feet. And to be beaten by Kupp twice on similar looking plays, one wide receiver screen that had a couple of guys in the Pride of Detroit Discord saying, why isn't that offensive pass interference? It's like, well, because it's within a yard of the line of scrimmage, and so you're allowed to do a pick play. And, it was like a kind of old-fashioned rugby-style drive. They kind of set up a little maul and just drove over the line. And, you got to be ready for something like that. You got to know that Kupp is going to be the main target in that situation. And I am not the defensive coordinator. It's not my job to kind of try and dream up every scenario with everything they might do. But running Kupp from the left-hand side of the field all the way around to the right-hand side of the field, I feel like I've seen that before somewhere. That's happened several times, and you've got to know that that's the thing. Manning up, who was it who was running across the formation to try and keep up with?
Wally.
It was Wally. Yeah, he just couldn't. That's a mismatch. As soon as Stafford sees that man coverage, it's game over.
It's just the little bits of where the talent isn't, though. These are the situations where the lack of talent shows. If Worley's not there and you've got in a corner who's quicker, who's better at diagnosing plays, that doesn't happen. On the drives, just in these sort of crucial situations, it's just a little bit of experience that's missing with Goff and the touchdown throw, the pick. It's just that little bit of expertise that you need that isn't there. I think that's primarily what it is. That's altering these. That's why we're an 0-7 team and maybe not 3-4, 4-3. It's just we are working with limitations here. There are limits as to what we can do, but we go back to the talk of the aggression of the plays again. I think it's the right thing to do. I know even if we go for the field goals, we get points, but for me, the biggest indicator that we're doing the right thing, being aggressive, is look at the player development. When you put players in position of extreme pressure, when you're onside kicking like a few minutes into a game, giving Stafford potentially a chance of a short field, there's a lot of pressure on you guys to stand up and make a big play then. And they did. On the fake punts, you're putting a lot of pressure on them to deliver, and they did. Fox throwing it, Price catching it. All these young guys have been put in situations of extreme pressure, and their development is coming along because of that. It helps them in the long run when you keep putting them under pressure. No, we're not going to settle for the safe field goals. No, we're not going to get these points. You are going to go out there and you're going to be aggressive and you're going to come away with these points, and we're going to keep doing it until you get there. I mean, this is a better year than any to be able to do it because we're not in a position to compete. So you may as well find out the integrity and character of your players. And there are players who are coming to the fore and standing out. You have to look no further than our undrafted free agents, our offensive line that's full of rookies and backups. They played brilliantly yesterday because, they've been trusted to play well, but they've been put in situations which are bringing out the best in them. So I think that's entirely the right thing for us to do this year. And, I just wish more people would be able to see it. I think a lot of people, not talking about this show, but just in general, are just so quick to try and hammer Campbell with something, but just look at the players and how they're progressing, what they're doing. This is what's bringing the best out of these players.
So one thing from the ups and downs I saw on LionsWire today by a friend of the pod, Jeff Risden, who I love, but he said that guy who, has stock down today is Jerry Jacobs. for giving up several receptions for a fair amount of yards. But that's not the impression I had coming away from this game. So talking about the defense generally, the run D came to the party. We held the running backs to less than 3 yards to carry. But in the secondary, if you take a look at the box score, you'd think that our secondary had been shredded somewhat. But Jacobs, as a UDFA, the expectations where they are for someone of his experience and, his quality, because let's face it, he's an undrafted free agent for a reason. He's coming in and they didn't think he was one of the top 250 players in the draft. So he's not coming in with a huge amount of quality. And he's come in there and he's playing almost perfect coverage. The DPI is probably not a DPI. He had several kind of knockdowns. There was one I remember on a slant route to Van Jefferson, which was really nicely broken up. He was flying all over the field. He had a nice tackle for a loss. He was all over the field. And for me, he's one of the bright spots. Even the touchdown to Van Jefferson, the coverage was really good. He's getting his hands up at the point of contact. You can see Aubrey Pleasant at work through him and what he's managing to put out there on the field. So some might say stock down, but I would say stock up from this game. I don't know whether I'm being biased and wanting the best for him, but what did you see especially from Jerry?
I thought DSM put him as a dud for the day, and it's just like, for God's sake, the Lions fans get something good, and you have to go and put your boot in there, and they're like, yeah, he gave up receptions, he gave up the touchdown. But again, you're not watching the game, as you said. The coverage was really good. It was just a damn good throw by a damn good quarterback. And in the NFL, sometimes you're going to get those. Unfortunately, it happens. And that's what's brought his grade down, is that the DPI call was absolutely goddamn atrocious and at the completely wrong time for us. 10-0 up, hemming them in. The offense wasn't going very far. To get, 40 yards or whatever it was on that call was absolute BS. He's barely touching him. The receiver's giving as good as he gets. And that ref couldn't wait to throw that flag. He honestly couldn't wait to throw it. It was already out before the play had even done. He was just like, yeah, we're going to give that because that's what happens. He wasn't backing into him. He was going away from him. He wasn't stopping him catching the ball. There was nothing to it. And, that was just ridiculous. But that's not on Jacobs. Jacobs' coverage was good. And again, we're basing him on the marker of being an undrafted free agent who's coming in and learning the position. We all know Stafford's a master at the long ball, but he wasn't able to get so many of them away this time. There weren't any noticeably big, massive chunk plays where they just wrecked us. There were a couple, but he's going to do that against every single team he plays because that's who Matt Stafford is. He did it for us. He'd be able to do it against every side, but he did well. Jacobs, that run play blew up from Henderson. He got him about 3 yards in the backfield. He got around a blocker on the edge and was in there and took him straight down. I put it on our Twitter. It was an amazing play from him, and just the look of fire in his eyes. This is a guy who has something to prove, and he's absolutely out there proving it. And yes, he's giving away some coverage. He's giving away some receptions, but one, they're not going for a great deal most of the time, and two, you're going to get it. Everyone's going to give them away. But Parker's the same. Parker in flashes has been really good. Yesterday, he was really good. Against a guy like Matt Stafford, with the weapons he's got, having an inexperienced secondary the way we have, yesterday was a fantastic result for them because they all stood up and they weren't just there to make up the numbers. They battled bloody hard to get to stop that game going. So I think you can only see positives really there for them. Yes, there are things they have to work on, but for where they've come from, where they are in the squad at the minute, where they're developing, they're far exceeding expectations. A lot of them, including Price in that.
The thing is, with any of this, it's okay saying that we're making progress, and we are definitely, but we do have to also start picking up the wins where games are winnable, and that is for me this week. So if the Eagles blow us away,
then it's a step back.
It's a step back, yeah. And I think it's about making sure that in weeks like this, we do pick up those wins as well. I fully expect us to be the number one draft pick this year, I do, but this team's still capable of picking off wins like Sunday.
I think the thing with me, the Bengals was a mismatch. The Bengals were really strong where, we generally get our best success. That's the only game we've really struggled. That run D is just killer there. That it's absolutely amazing. And when our run game gets stopped, our offense stutters. But I think for most part in the other games, we have always been competitive. We could easily have won 3 or 4. I think I'm not worried about the results yet and how they. Obviously, if the Eagles game's bad, then this will be the first real indicator that there could be something a bit wrong. But I think generally we've been trending in the right direction most weeks. And against the Bengals, it was just a bad day at the office against a team who were a bad mismatch.
But if you're talking about,
Sorry,
if you talk about bad mismatches, this Eagles game is another one of them. They are strong where we are weak. We want to be able to run the ball. Their big, plus side is that defensive line, that run defense, and that offensive line. I mean, Jalen Hurts likes to air it out. He's a mobile quarterback. We seem to have some success against mobile quarterbacks. I know this isn't the Eagles preview pod, but I hate to break it to some people, but the Eagles are a terrible team. But it's a bad matchup for us. I do not expect to win from this game.
In fairness, but so are the Rams, really. I mean, they only give away, I think it was 20 yards more a game on the run than what the Bengals do. But the difference is we adjusted to this game. We saw the linebackers were weak. I highlighted that the linebackers were weak, and we deliberately went after them and targeted them. We put extra blockers in. The run blocking was really, really good and allowed us to get into that secondary and cause damage. We did enough passing damage to them just to make the offense look good. So we adjusted, and hopefully we'll do the same against the Eagles. Yes, the run D is good, but you can negate that. If you get Goff throwing it a little, you stop them bringing up all the pressure that you can, then you can get your run game going. And this offensive line, especially Sewell and Jackson, they were straight up bullying the Rams yesterday. Even Donald really struggled against those two. And you're forgetting that's a first-year rookie who's been thrown straight into left tackle and a second-year guy who's working without his 2 mentors who he played with all last season. It's not an easy assignment for them, and they absolutely dominated. So that was wonderful to see from that pair. But I mean, from really the whole line, it was such a great performance.
Just want to say what up, Doe, to Ferg Lions 509. His Detroit Lions on the prowl, isn't he? And he's on a Friday roundtable with him. So thanks for coming on, man. Appreciate that. Det Fan Man has a really interesting question. Off the back of me saying that the Eagles are a bad matchup for the Lions, he said, "Hey, Turner," and thanks for always addressing me by my surname. It's much appreciated. Just in case, you get me confused with some other Matt on the podcast. Who's the best matchup for the Lions in the NFL? And my idea instantly is the Bears. Out of all of the teams in the NFL, I think that the Bears suck at quarterback, suck at receiver, and their strength apparently is the running game. We have good run defense. Any other examples anyone can think of good matchups for the Lions? Anyone in the NFL, doesn't have to be someone we play. Just
on that point you just made about the Bears, but then look at what happened in that game. That's what I'm talking about. Disappointing ones where you think you're taking a step in the right direction, and then that game's over by halftime. So
the thing is, we didn't schematically adjust to that one. I thought we'd be the same with that, but the Bears deliberately loaded up that box to protect Justin Fields. And Glenn, he made the rare mistake. He was wanting to protect his secondary. So when you can't bring your safeties up or your linebackers up a bit more to even the odds out in there, that's what happened. I think that was just a schematic thing, and I think we'd learn from that next time. This week we brought a lot more pressure towards Stafford. We realized his arm talent is dangerous, and we trusted the guys in the secondary a bit more. We didn't do that against the Bears. I'm fully believable that's on coaching, and they're learning that, from these mistakes.
I think the Dolphins would not enjoy playing the Lions.
No.
They've got zero run game. Like I said, they've got Gesicki, but I don't trust Tua as far as I can throw the kid. Like I said, a little bit of pressure, and he's a deer in headlights.
I think trust him as much as he can throw it, because
no, I don't rate him whatsoever. Like I say, they've been proven. If you stop Gesicki, their top 1 to 4 wide receivers out. Rest of them are scrubs. The rest of their crew are no better than ours. I think we would show up really well, I think, against the Dolphins.
Miami are the Rams without an O-line or a D-line.
If we had one win, I genuinely think there are 3, maybe 4 teams who are worse than us in this division, even at the point we're at now, simply because we're playing much better as a team. Some of these others are not. They're just playing as a group of individuals.
It just goes back to what I said a while ago about talent. It's just a lack of talent for me on this team. I think there are so many positives at the moment, but it really is hampered by a lack of talent in some key positions for us. And I think as we add to that, next year and the year after, we'll see a really strong team. That's why I'm really positive about that.
Yeah, I think it goes back to the dude theory. I think that this team is good enough to actually really, really compete if it had just a few superstars on it. Just a few. Like, the backbone of this team, the young players, they're all good enough to be on a potential division-winning team. If you could throw in a QB1 and a WR1, that'd go a massive way to making this team competitive, and you only need 2 players. That's all you need.
On the offense, it is. You need a reliable quarterback and a number 1 receiver in there, and you've pretty much got it.
When the corners come back from injury next season, I know. Okay, so Harris needs to be replaced at safety, but on defense, our run D is good. We've been making pressures with Romeo. Okuda could come back and look good, but otherwise the cornerbacks actually haven't been the liability in this team. That defense can roll, especially if Zolone can come back and do what he's doing right.
Exactly, and put it this way: our schedule so far, every team but the Bears is a playoff team in all but name. Really, the Rams are potentially a Super Bowl team, and we could easily have 3 or 4 wins here. Dan Campbell is working without $100 million of his budget. I mean, Jesus, it's over half. He's not got that available to him, yet his teams are still nearly putting away playoff sides. That's how much of a disadvantage we're at. But the mere fact that we're talking about games we could and should have won, playing against such a disadvantage, is a good thing. Imagine what it's going to be like in 12 months when most of the dead cap is gone. 60 million coming in free agency, a good round of draft picks there. That's what I'm saying. The situation that we're in it's just a positive here. We shouldn't be, we obviously we should feel bad about what winning, but the sheer fact that the Rams could not put us away is a huge win for us. If we'd have had another £100 million of talent on that pitch, we'd have won, and we'd have won quite easily. I dare to say.
Yeah. Well, let's have a look and maybe talk about some more positives from this game specifically. And let's start with the run game. Between Williams and Swift, they combined for 4.25 yards a carry. Williams 12 carries for 57 yards and a long of 14, and Swift 13 48 and a long of 14. So, Williams being more productive, almost at 5 yards a carry for him. Swift maybe starting to lose his status as a kind of RB1 here, I think, but he's more than making up for it in the passing game. So, a really good performance from this running game, and I think this is the first time that we've actually had more rushing attempts than we've had completions. But somehow, I felt like we should have run the ball even more than we did. I don't know how you guys felt on the balance of the offense and how the running backs did, and how the offensive line did behind them, or in front of them.
I think that's the thing. For a run game to be successful, your offensive line has to play well. And 2 years ago, we didn't know what a good offensive line was, for years and years and years. And Matthew Stafford will attest to this. He's had no offensive line in Detroit whatsoever. Yes, we've had good individual players, but never a well-drilled unit. 2 years later, Hank Fraley is making a team out of Matt Nelson, who's a backup, Vaitai, who's not really a guard. He's got Evan Brown, who's starting his first ever games as a center. And he's got Jackson and Sewell, who are both rookies. And they looked so at home in this one. They were battling incredibly hard. They got the run game going. They were great in pass protection. They kept Goff sidelined. And this is without our 2 best players. We're without one of the top 3 centers in the league and one of the top 5 left tackles. The job he's doing is nothing short of tremendous. And I remember during the offseason when they were doing the purge of the coaching staff, we all were desperate for them to keep Hank. And they did. And it's one of the shrewdest decisions they've made since they got here to keep him in. I mean, did we think this offensive line was going to collapse when Brown and that came? We thought, oh, God, it's not going to be as good as it could be. If anything, the quality stayed the same. It stayed really high. That's an incredibly good positive for this one. For me, it can't be understated what a great job he is doing.
I think keeping the 3 tight ends on the end of the lines really helped. I think that as a unit, line and tight ends yesterday, they were really, really good. Well, all really good, like you say, there was the odd whiff block. Hawkinson still frustrates me because, like I say, I don't feel like his blocking is progressing as it should. He still looks shaky in that, but between Fells and Wright, I think they were pretty good. I do agree with Matthew. Swift is not a rushing running back. He never will be. He will never run just between the tackles and the guards. He's got the speed. Don't think he's got the power and the durability, but everything outside is fantastic. If you get him in open space, he'll make things happen. If you ask him to run out of an I formation like that, say that, you will not get the best out of him. We're using him to his strengths. Like say, Williams is more smash mouth, ground and pound. He will get those third and longs, third and shorts, which is probably the best, like say. So I think the transition between RB1 rushing is now Williams, but let's say Swift makes up for that as a receiver and catching passes out of the back. Like I say, that's what he does best. That's what he wants to be doing. He wants to get his ball in his hands and have free space in front of him. You don't want to be looking back behind the O-line. Like I say, I think we actually used them fairly well. Like I say, the balance has been pretty good, I'd say, every week. Like I say, I think that's something that Lynn has successfully achieved, like I say, in his time here so far, that we're managing to control the clock as well. Like I say, because before Goff turned the ball over, we'd almost got to 5 minutes left in that quarter. So we'd actually managed to sustain a drive that was nearly 6-7 minutes. And we've never been able to kill the clock or use time properly, but we actually managed to do it for once. Like I say, it's becoming something that's getting more noticeable.
Exactly. These are the little improvements that you see in the game. You know, we wanted more longer sustained drives. We got longer sustained drives. It's just an issue of finishing them now. But I like the work. I like the workload between the running backs. I know Luke doesn't. I know Luke, who we chat with a lot. He wants a bell cow in there and wants us to run them. Run one of them really hard. But I think when you mix them up correctly, it gives us a much dangerous edge to have those two in there. I'd like to see them both in at once, maybe at the same time. Not to quote SW Lion too much, but I think
he's not getting off that train.
He's all about the 2-back sets, and I'd like to see more of it. But I like sort of the breakdown we've given them. We're not, they've both had injury niggles, so we've kept them relatively fresh, to go out there and do their best work.
One thing I would say for the running backs, their pass blocking grades per PFF were good to excellent, and that's a really big improvement. But one thing I will say is that DeAndre Swift was on the field for 52 snaps. Williams, who, I'll remind you, rushed the ball 12 times, was only on the field for 20 snaps. So when he's on the field, 2/3 of the time, he's running the ball. And I hate to sound like we're being a bit obvious a la Patricia era stuff, but it's almost like having Adrian Peterson back. Like, Williams is on the field, we're running the ball between the tackles. And if you are a defensive coordinator watching what's going on right now, if Williams is on the field, I'm stacking the box and I am rushing up between the tackles as hard as I possibly can. Williams came here and he was sold to us as someone who not only ran with power, but could run outside the tackles and catch the ball in the passing game almost as well as he could run. But I'm not seeing him being used in the passing game as much now. Maybe that's because he's not performed in training in that aspect of things and Swift is just better than him at it. But if we're going to preach being balanced, I want to see us keep people off balance by doing something that people don't expect. And let's get Williams involved in the passing game, therefore, and let's get him on the field a bit more often, because he's the running back who's actually being more productive when it comes to running the ball. And that's going to create its own opportunities in the play-action game. But if he's only on the field for 8 snaps where he's not running the ball, you're not giving yourself a chance to do these misdirection plays. So,
I know that this is again a function of mine, but this is why I'd be activating Jefferson to have him with those two as well. Jefferson plays out the eye and can really go anywhere. So if you've got him in the backfield and you've got one of Swift or Williams in there, you are genuinely going to have a problem working out what they're going to do, because Jefferson can do both, not to the level those two do, but it's all about the misdirection aspect of it. that is why I'd have all three of them active on a game day. Because like you say, Matt, it is maybe a bit too predictable when you have both them on. With Jefferson, you have an unknown quantity who can do both things pretty well and can work in tight situations with it. So I just love to see them get him involved. Let's use the weapons while we've got them.
Just counting the snaps now. Rushes by direction for Jamal Williams. He has between the left guard and mid-right. So that's 1 tech on the right-hand side and 3 tech on the left-hand side. That accounts for 44 of his 71 rushing attempts. Like, he's between the tackles, and more often than not, he's between the tackles and behind Jonah Jackson. Like, not only is he predictable in terms of he's on the field, we're running the ball, but you know where he's running as well. I want to see more unpredictability because we're starting to see it in the offensive scheming in terms of on special teams. We're using the trick plays. We're going, in the kicking game and recovering the onside kick and what have you. But let's see in the Commonwealth Garden offense. Let's be using the misdirection. I did see a few plays where we were faking end arounds and that sort of thing, which I haven't seen before with us. So that's good, but we can be more imaginative than we have been. I really think so. I hope that it's not Lynn dumbing things down for Goff, because I do think he's capable of this. Like, this is something complicated that doesn't actually really involve him, if you know what I mean. He's just got to hand the ball off. I don't know. Yeah. Right. Let's go into another positive, and it was a career day for Khalif Raymond. 6 catches on 8 targets, 115 yards. We had criticised him for being a slot receiver who was forced to be on the outside and he wasn't performing there. But he came to life yesterday, boys. He really came to play. He made some clutch catches on 3rd downs, some contested catches, or, Goff put it right on the money, but he made a really nice grab. There was one play I remember in particular where he caught the ball, leaping grab, where he was totally horizontal in the air and made the catch. And, in that situation, it's often lost because it doesn't survive the floor. But he managed to hold on to that well. This guy on a 1-year deal has come out and performed. And if you listen to what MCDC said in his press conference today, he was listing off some of the guys, especially on 1-year deals, who he really likes. He kept coming back to Leaf, as they call him there, Leaf, as someone who they're really, really impressed by, who he says not only does he make the catches and run hard with everything he's got, but the thing that doesn't show up on the stat sheet is that he's blocking someone on every play and he's giving it 100% every single time, and you're not going to see that all the time. Maybe we've got a keeper here. I know that Ant's big on the idea that, this wide receiver core is perhaps the backbone of something that just lacks a couple of people above them, but I think Raymond can perhaps be better than that. Maybe be the wide receiver 3A, perhaps, alongside Amon-Ra. But Amon-Ra suffered at the hands of him because he was so productive yesterday.
Oh, and I never mean it as an insult, when I say that these guys are going to be depth players. Depth players are critical. I mean, Cephas has already shown that he can be part of this group moving forward. He had a really good year before his injury, and hopefully he can come back and do similar. But if you've got Cephas in there who's nailing down a depth position, Amon-Ra is going to be the future at slot eventually when he gets a guy in there who he can work with well. I mean, if Raymond's going to come through as well and keep on performing the way he is, that's like the entire depth of your wide receiver room sorted, with potential for them to maybe go higher. Cephas could maybe go higher depending on what he does. But I think that's what this year was about. Taking these 1-year flyers, seeing if there was anyone who was going to step up and do so. And if we walk away this year with St. Brown, Cephas, and Raymond all sort of part of our future, that's a massive win for us. Go out, get yourself a wide receiver 1 and maybe a reliable receiver 2 or 3. Your receiver core is built, and we thought it might take 3 or 4 years. So, it's been great to see him, we saw a few weeks back when he got a couple of touchdowns, just what he can do when he's utilized correctly. And he's had another great game today. So, you can only give props to him for doing so well. There's a lot of guys at depth position. There's a lot of unfound talent that we're bringing out of players this year, which is sort of, it's going to do really well for us going forward. And Raymond's just part of that.
think with Raymond, he is showing something that all of the guys are, and I think that is the ability to get separation. He looks like he's separating from defenders. He's getting 1, 2, maybe 3 yards, like say, using his pace, his crisp route running. Like St. Brown yesterday, he had a bad game. He didn't look open when he was on the field. Like say, he's not doing what Raymond's doing. Like say, I know he still needs to learn, but this is a challenge. Like Raymond is setting a bar for these guys to live up to. Like say, right now, I agree with Ant. Raymond is the only guy other than Cephas and Amon-Ra that's returning. All the other receivers for me can go. Benson can go, Hodge, because Raymond has really shown up. Like I said, I was looking at his numbers. He's already smashing career numbers. He looks like he's comfortable, but he's not too comfortable. He knows he's safe. He's here on a 1-year deal with something to prove. And so far he's doing it. Like I say, he's been the only real consistent factor at receiver that's able to, like I say, make a reception and then he turns upfield. Like I say, he doesn't just take what he's got. He's got that yards after reception that we don't have in a lot of other guys. He gets the field, he plants his foot, he looks upfield. You saw that on that screen where he came across the field, beat the defender, got an extra 10 yards. Like his burst of pace is probably the fastest option right now, and it's going to be the only real way we can stretch the field, I think. Like he's probably got in him 500-600 yards, and for a 1-year rental, like say for a few $1 million, like you really couldn't ask much more of a pretty much seasoned veteran that has spent his whole year not getting targets, not had much to do, and suddenly he's found himself with shitloads to do. Pardon my French.
What do you reckon, Martin?
Yeah, I mean, I have been impressed with Raymond, to be fair, and obviously he was great yesterday. But this, I take what people are saying about this group, but it is making our offense quite predictable, because there's a few times yesterday where we had 3rd and longs and they're not going to go for a pass because the trust isn't there, and so it's heavily dependent on the run game, which is making that offense really predictable. And I think if you look at, I don't think Amon-Ra even had a target yesterday. Allison had 2 next to useless, so we are really missing those standout players to add that into the mix, because at the moment it is just too predictable.
So I'm going to take it in a different direction now. I've just been looking through next gen stats, which I actually didn't manage to get to before the game. During my prep. Do you want to take a guess at what the longest air yards for Detroit was for a completion?
9.
Anyone else want to take a stab?
7.
Yeah.
10.
See, it wasn't Jared Goff though, was it?
No. It's
Jack
a fake
Fox, 31.5 yards, longest air completion, and potentially that's one of the longest of the season for the Lions so far. So that's really depressing. One thing that I saw that I really, really liked is that we held Aaron Donald pretty much out of this game up until one crucial moment. But Aaron Donald, in terms of separation from the quarterback, was at 4.07 yards. He was the 3rd furthest away defender on that Rams team. The league average 4.52, so he was closer than the average NFL player. But for potentially being the best player in the league of any position, not talking about positional value, we kept him pretty quiet. And that O-line, especially a certain center, deserves a huge amount of credit for what's happened. And you mentioned on Twitter yesterday, and it got a lot of love, that the potential MVP so far is Hank Fraley, of the entire team, playing staff, coaching staff, whoever. What a year he's had to cope with the injuries he has and make this unit passable. I mean, they've given Goff a chance.
Absolutely. You know, what team goes to LA against that front 7 and only gives up 1 quarterback hit and 7 pressures, and that's it? They didn't even give away a sack. They came and they played hard. Like Ryan said, they put the tight ends out wide just to give us a little bit of help there. But, they executed really well. The run game got over 100 yards. It allowed the offense to function. And, we haven't seen player development like this for ages. Under Patricia last year, the rotation on that line was ridiculous. Yes, I know there were a few injuries there, but Decker and Ragnar were fit. You had your two best guys in. No better to teach them than having those two there. But without their two-star guys, they are somehow gelling as a unit and performing incredibly well. And like I say, you've got two backups in there, and you've got two rookies, and you've got Vaitai, who had a bad year last year, who's having a much better year this one. Every single one of them has improved dramatically. And, it's down to him. As I said earlier in the show, we've not had an offensive line here until he came. And in less than 2 years, he's made it one of our strongest positions, despite us having our best players out. It's just an incredible thing, really. And like I say, he is deserving of love this week, because everyone thought we were going to get crushed and the offense was going to do nothing in this game. But that line stood up and gave us a chance.
Hey guys, I'm going to leave soon, but I just want to add one last thing. I don't know about you and everyone that's listening. Like, I'm not getting rid of Decker, but doesn't every week feel like it's going to get harder and harder to pull Sewell out left tackle? It gets tougher. I feel like with every passing week, like asking Decker to just try right tackle for a game seems more and more likely.
It does.
Because he's kind of in his groove now, like say him and Jackson. I don't really want to uproot it. I know we might still be just as good, but looking long term, what's best? I feel like it's keeping Sewell there. I feel like Decker would move to right tackle, and then I feel like we just get better across the whole board.
I am tempted by that idea, but Ryan, just before you go, and for everyone who doesn't know, Ryan's birthday tomorrow, so going out for a few drinks. Hope you join us all in wishing him a happy birthday and many happy returns for tomorrow. But Dan had a question on Twitch, and just because you do the college podcast, I just wanted to quickly ask you. Dan says it feels like the first three picks are going to be mixed between quarterback, defensive end, wide receiver one, and safety, kind of picking from those positions. No trades. Who would you pick in what order? How do you want it to go, Ryan?
Right, we don't need a wide receiver one. We don't need a first round wide receiver. The receiver, this is a very safety receiver draft. We will end up with one. If we can't, like say, no trades, we get Kayvon Thibodeau. Like say, because we don't know what's going to happen with Flowers. He's electric. Like say, I would love to find a quarterback at the end of the first. If Matt Corral slid for any reason, God, I'd be taking him straight away. Like say, and then to start the second round, like say, I'd go wide receiver there. We can find fantastic depth and value at picking a wide receiver in rounds 2 or 3, and you could still get that first guy. Like say, I want Kyle Hamilton, but it's a bit rich. It's a bit too rich for my blood taking him number 1 or 2. So I've got D-end, quarterback, wide receiver.
There we go. Hope that satisfies you, Dan, just before Ryan says goodbye to us. So I hope you have a great birthday, man, tomorrow, and we'll see you for the College Football Podcast on Wednesday.
Yep. Cheers. One pride. See you guys on Wednesday.
Birthday.
Bye.
And just to add on to the back of that, what sort of order would you like to go for?
This all depends where you're picking for me. If it's 1, then in fact, screw it. I'd like to trade away 1. My ideal situation would be to grab Hamilton first, to grab Karlaftis at the end of round 1, or maybe a bit higher, because I don't know if the Rams will be that close to the Super Bowl, and then go quarterback at the start of round 2. Because for me, the drop off between Hamilton and Battle is absolutely massive. Hamilton is by far and away the best safety in this draft. It's not even close. He's a generational talent there, like Kayvon is at edge. But the drop off between Kayvon and Karlaftis is not anywhere near as big. Karlaftis is a mega game wrecker. He's got the best pass rushing arsenal out of the lot of them. He's got the best execution in there. You're coming away with 2 elite game-changing guys. Whereas if you go the other way and you get Kayvon first, you get 1 incredibly good game wrecker. But Battle, I don't think, is on the same level. So I'm looking at overall value between the 2 places as opposed to like maybe just the elite one, with the first pick. That would be my ideal thing. And then I'd pick up Carson Strong at the start of the second round because he's Josh Allen 2.0, sitting for a year. And you're going to get the best out of him if you go quarterback, but I don't think I would. But for me, it's safety, then it's edge, then it's quarterback, and I'll just leave receiver for now. You get your shiny toys when you're ready to play.
Fair enough. I know, Martin, you probably haven't done any of your prep, but just from a sort of want perspective, where would you like to go?
Do you know, I think for me, it's about taking the best available on the board at the time in the position that you've got. So if we can negotiate back from first and get a potential additional pick there, then that in the position that we're in at the moment, then I probably would go with that. But the issue with if we don't pick up the best wide receivers that are on the board at the time is if we have an improved season next season and that drops further back, then we perhaps miss out on some of those guys that we would have been able to pick up this coming year. It's a listen, I bow to Ant's superior knowledge on the draft board for this year, and you know I trust his knowledge on those guys. But I just think at the moment I feel like we're really hampered in our attack when we're not aiming downfield with some of those passes on third and longs or you know those opportunities where we would be looking for those wide receivers. I feel like we're hampered in that, and it's making our attack very predictable. So that's a need in whatever way we get it next year. I think we've got to have at least one guy in that position.
Yeah, just for myself, I want a quarterback. I want to take a swing on a quarterback. I don't want it at first overall, but I am desperate to have something to turn to when we've all had enough of Goff, and I'm pretty much there now. I don't want to bench him because I actually want to win a game, and he represents the best chance of doing so. He does, short of starting Jack Cox, and I'm sure no one's going to go for that. So, you know, Goff represents the best chance to win right now, but right now I'm staring down the barrel of another year and a half with him because I think that's the best thing for the team. But my God, I want some hope. And the rest of the team gives me hope, but he doesn't. And that kills me. I'd love to take Willis, but he's never going to last until the back of the first. I don't see a way that we can pick him unless we start winning some games. If we manage to negotiate ourselves to 4-13, and I don't see how that's going to happen. But if we can and we pick 10 at 4-13 because we have the strongest strength of schedule of all of the 4-win teams and it really makes us rise up, then maybe we can take Willis at 10 or something like that. But even that seems a bit high for him when, like Ant said, none of the quarterbacks are starters. And top half of the first round for a guy like him just seems rich to me. I think that it's a factor of the there's no premier talent out there.
I guess you got to think who else is going to want to draft a QB first next year. So there's potentially a chance there that we would pick him on that additional first round pick. I don't know.
Yeah.
Because the Jags are going to be around the top few picks, aren't they? They're already sorted with Lawrence and co. So I don't know who else is in desperate need of a quarterback next year.
I mean, Eagles potentially if they give up on Hurts. I don't know. It depends. Obviously, a lot of guys are saying that Hurts is having a bad year, but I really like the guy.
Texans, Mills. Well, Mills shouldn't really be starting yet. He's a development guy, so they might choose to try again. But I don't know. That's the draft. It's a while away yet, so a lot can happen before then. I think just while we were talking about the positives for this game, just to quickly get back onto that, I'd go towards the linebackers and say they were a much bigger positive for this game. Obviously, when Collins left a few weeks ago, I don't think we realised just how much of a detrimental effect he was having on the linebacker room, because I tell you what, Alexander Zolone's undergone a transformation since he left. I know we watched some of the footage, especially that last game, and we started having doubts about whether it was Anzalone who was the guy, because you could see him constantly having to cover for Collins, who was just not doing his assignments. And since he's left, he's absolutely flourished. He was one of our best guys yesterday on defense. He was the highest rated guy of them all. He got about 7 tackles in there. 5 of them were stopped. He gave up 2 receptions on 4 targets for just 6 yards. He's been the linchpin of that defense, the play caller whom we invested in. And I know I was skeptical when he came here because he's not played much in recent years. And, he's been at a good Saints side. But Dan Campbell obviously knows what he brings to this team and has put trust in him and has backed him And I know a lot of people said, why the hell is he back in Zolone? But you see him why he's done it now. I think he's making a believer, as a lot of us, really, really quickly. He's even joining in the pressure game, so he's doing a little bit of everything. And that was great to see. And the other one I didn't realize, Reeves Maben had a really good game as well. He got 8 tackles altogether. He was targeted 6 times. He only gave up 4 receptions, and he was only giving up on average 6 yards. So those big chunk plays that we've been seeing against the linebackers, where they've been giving away hundreds of yards, has not been there. He may have given a few, but he's not giving up much after them. And we know about Barnes, and Barnes is doing okay. He's had a few knocks, but again, he's looking better. So, the transformation in that room has been really, really good. And it's great to see Collins got his lazy ass kicked out of here because it was not acceptable play. And you've seen all the guys who stood in his place raise their game. That's what we expect here, and that's what we deserve. So the linebackers yesterday, you've got to give them a round of applause after all the stick, and rightful stick, that they've taken, but you've got to call out the good when it's there. And both of them had really, really solid games and held that defense together. Because they're playing better, it means the secondary is a bit safer, because you're not bringing your safeties up to help them. The safeties can then go help the corners, and you see it at work. So, again, huge positive.
I think they look better in coverage as well. And, there were some really good blitzes on Stafford, which put him under pressure yesterday. So that was really pleasing to see. So, yeah, I would agree with that from him.
Yeah, I love Zolone. I think he'd probably be my MVP of the game, to be honest. I mean, he kept us in it all the way through. He was flying all over the field. He was making big tackles. He wasn't giving up easy receptions. He gave Stafford a really hard time, because Higbee's one of those big targets over the middle, and he wasn't giving him any time either. So, I don't know. I mean, if you guys had to pick an MVP of the game for you on the Lions side, who would you pick?
I'd pick Sewell. I mean, he's going up against Aaron Donald, one of the best players in the league, if not the best player in the entire league. And he's had to turn into a leader on that offensive line real quick with no Decker and Ragnow there. He is the leader there. And, he's leading a group of rookies and backups. And for him to lead by example the way he did, you could see him squaring up with Donald. He wasn't scared. He gave as good as he got. And Donald was visibly getting annoyed with the lack of success he was having, especially early on. I know he got some pressures, and Ramhouse will say he did really well, but I'm sorry, when you're going up against a rookie left tackle like that, the left tackle won this one quite easy. And I think, for that reason alone, I think he has to be the MVP of this one, although I could give it to a few players, but he's had a lot of criticism these last few weeks, but he's really stepped up his game, and he looks every bit the player that we invested in. I know the play I put up on Twitter today, he'd done his assigned block and was in the second level before Swift had even received a handoff on one. That's how lightning quick he is in that run game, getting to the second level, getting those blocks in. Not many tackles can do that, and he's going to be an absolute stud in years to come. He really is. The debate with Decker will rage on, but we picked right in this draft, and he had an excellent game yesterday.
What about you, man?
Either Raymond or Anzalo, I think. For me, I think both of those had really strong days. So yeah, either of those two for me. But again, like Anne said, you could pick a number of players. I thought as a team they played well yesterday. And obviously special teams were brilliant yesterday. So, you probably give a good shout out to them as well. That's
fair. I think we're coming to the end of this episode at the moment. Anything you guys want to bring up before we knock this one on the head?
Not particularly out of what we said. All I'd really say is just I'm after 7 weeks of what we expected this season to come and find. I'm reasonably happy compared to what I thought might happen. I thought there might be a lot of games where we might get hammered and where there might be a lot of issues. But the amount of player development I've seen, the amount of fight I've seen out of this team, they're all things we did not see under Matt Patricia. And even though we're 0-7, this franchise is light years ahead of where Patricia ever was. Even if he did get wins, in terms of what we're building for the future, this is going to be far better than we ever got under him. So, I'm 100% behind Dan Campbell. I think he's going about things the right way. Yes, he's on a learning curve. I love the aggression. I love him trying to get the character out of his players. The culture's changing. The attitude's changing. The rookies are standing up and playing really well. Brad Holmes did a really, really good job in the draft and undrafted free agency, which we've never had success there before, ever. And yet we've potentially got 3 guys in 1 year who are going to be here for a long stint. So, I'm really happy with where we're at. Yes, I'm disappointed we've not won some games. Yes, there've been a few decisions, but overall, I'm really happy. And I just can't wait for Dan Campbell to get this first win because, if anyone deserves it, he does for what he's done to this franchise and how he's turning it around. And yes, the same old lines naysayers are going to get on here, but, I'm doing my research. I'm looking at this team and I'm seeing what you don't see outside of the box score. And that's what all Lions fans need to do. There's a lot to be positive about. You notice today we've lost, but there's been a lot more positives for us to speak about than negatives. And that's always a good thing, especially when you're rebuilding. That's all I'd say on this one. Just that everyone's doing a great job. It's just the results aren't translating yet. That was always going to be the case.
I think I agree with a lot of what Ant said there. I think, you've got to accept, and we did accept right from the start, that this was a rebuild year. And all we want to see is steps in the right direction, which we didn't ever see under Patricia. There never seemed to be a clear path in the way that we were going. And I think we do all see that. I think, the coaching staff are learning on the job as we go as well. But again, week in, week out, we're seeing steps forward there. I was upset about the Ravens and Vikings losses because I think in that moment towards the end of the game, we only rushed 3 when we probably should have rushed more. And it's making decisions like that and learning from those decisions. We do have to say that this year's a learning year, and I think we do all accept that. But I enjoyed yesterday's game more than I've enjoyed a lot of Lions games over the last few years. And we didn't win. And I didn't think for 1 minute during the game we were going to win. But I enjoyed the aggression. I enjoyed the passion. I enjoyed seeing the learning gains from a lot of those guys. So I think it's going to be a really, really positive run under Dan Campbell. And I think we are going to see some wins this year. Not a great many, but I think we are going to get a couple of wins. And I'm with Ant on, I think he really does deserve it. Hopefully it comes this week. Against the Eagles, and we get that first win, particularly with it being at Ford Field as well. So
put it this way, with an 0-5 team, he got Ryan Farden to predict a win for the Lions last week. That's how positive, fans are feeling at the minute. Ryan never, predicts a win when we're at 0-5. No. And he did that last week. That's how much he enjoyed, that's how much he believes in this team. And I know he really enjoyed going there this weekend to watch the game. I bet that must have been amazing. I really want to go to SoFi at some point. But
I'm more concerned about the amount of times I'm agreeing with Ant at the moment.
I am, Ed. I am. I love it when you're on mic because we can have a little verbal back and forth about everything we disagree on. And today, I've not felt that.
No, I've been very, very positive.
But again, that's the thing. Even people who you are a lot more critical, not critical, but I think you're a lot more of a realist sometimes than I am. I know I sometimes have the glasses on a bit, but even you were seeing the progress here, the positives, and that's a good thing. Even when the critical analysis people are really happy, and it just shows you what a job he's doing.
It's just believing in the project as it is at the moment, and I think we can all see. I think Brad Holmes will be a great GM. You can see that from the picks he's brought in from the last draft. So you've got the trust there. You've got the trust of the head coach to make the right decisions on the field and be aggressive to win games. It's just when it gets to that key moment now, making those key decisions that are going to get you over the line with a win in those tight games. And that's where we're at the moment. And as long as we're learning from those and keep making those decisions, then use this season to do that. No one's expecting anything this season. So use this as a learning curve. Get it all out now. So, yeah, I'm good with it at the minute.
That's it. It's the key decisions and it's the red zone that we need to work on now. Those are the 2 big issues now, which you'll look at over the upcoming weeks. And, if we get better at that, then, you can't ask any more of him, really.
Yeah, absolutely right. I hope and pray that Dan can get it done. I do think that this ability of us to kind of have no pressure and play the young guys and whatever actually does reduce our chances of winning games slightly. And so I do wonder whether that might take a win off the board that we're thinking might happen. But I don't really care. Like, it's enjoyable football. When they first came in, they said, you know, it's going to be fun. We were hoping it's going to be fun. It may not be good, but, you know, we're going to bite kneecaps off of you guys. I hate that phrase, but it's true. It's happened. It's come to pass. You know, I absolutely love what's happening right now. Results aside, there's progress being made, and that's something you could never say under Patricia. Over the 3 years, you were hoping that it was coming, always hoping, but no results ever. Even the odd win here and there felt like it was snatched from the jaws of defeat rather than actually winning the game on its merits. And now we feel like we're the ones having the win snatched away sometimes. And that's a kind of perversely nice feeling.
Yeah,
Not nice feeling, but
I mean,
bittersweet.
Campbell's team of rookies, undrafted free agents, and 1-year guys who are here to prove a point is doing better than Patricia's team ever did. And this was the team he inherited, which was a really good side, which just needed finishing off. And all that money he spent over the years on ridiculously priced free agents, all that money he was spending, they never looked this good. And this is a team made up of a half budget and, you know, very few bona fide starters who are fighting harder. You know, just imagine what this team's going to be like when the playing field is even, when all the bad Quinn Trisha contracts are gone, when we've had a few drafts to sort things, when the players carry on developing at the rate that they are, and because you can see that every week now, the players are getting better. You know, you can't deny that.
We say all those things about, you know, I've spoke about the same things in terms of the positives, but you do ultimately need those wins as well to back up that as being a step in the right direction. I think that's where we're at now. We're needing that, you know, win, so to speak, to say, you know, if Dan Campbell ran the risk, I think, at the start of the year of coming across as a bit of a dickhead, a bit of a, you know, mouth all, it's going to be backed up, and we're seeing that. I think we're seeing progress on the field all the time. There are going to be ups and downs, but I think we are definitely seeing that progress. We do need to pick up those odd wins, though, now in those clutch moments.
Oh, yeah, I think a statement win would add so much legitimacy, not just to the fan base. You know, the fan base can see what's going on, but to the outside world as well. That would then, they, you know, raise their attention and go, oh, hang on, he is actually building something quite special there. But I think even some of the media are starting to come round to him now as well. I think that's just the impact he's having.
Yeah.
So, and he's honest. The thing is, he comes out every game and is honest. The week before last, he was in tears because he was upset because of what went on. After the Bengals, he was really pissed and angry because he was disappointed that we'd not followed up on it. You know, he's been bluntly honest in his assessment of what's going on. It's just refreshing as a fan to hear, because you know that the issues you're thinking about, he's thinking about. You never thought that with Patricia. You just always thought, oh, he's doing his own bloody thing and he doesn't care. But with Campbell, he is. He's thinking like the fans are.
I think we're really unlucky at the moment not to be sat on 2 wins. I think the games against the Ravens and Vikings, they were wins, you know, which could have literally have gone either way. If we'd made those stops on that drive, we win both games. But, you know, hindsight's a great thing. But that's where the credibility comes from. We were seconds away from beating both of those teams. And in other moments this season, we'll win games that we don't deserve to win, probably. So, you know, it's all about just picking up those wins, like I say, when the opportunities arise now, and they will again.
Yeah, I mean, the phrase is swings and roundabouts, isn't it? But it feels like we're on the downswing and we don't have very much of the upswing right now. So let's hope that the second half of the year is a bit more productive on that side of things. Just to draw this to a close, I did tease slightly earlier on in the YouTube chat that we did have a big announcement, and about 10 minutes before we came on air, Roar the Lions UK have signed a deal to be a part of the Lions Nation Unite app. So this is the app backed by Herman Moore. He's the face of it. He is the guy producing a lot of the content on it. But a lot of the guys that you know and love, the Detroit Lions podcasters and YouTubers and what have you are all a part of it. So you've got Rachel Marie Sports, you've got Micro Mike, you've got Lions on the Prowl, Detroit Lions podcast, amongst many, many others. It's the place to go to get your Lions content, and you should sign up now. We're going to be verified very shortly, but the deal was done. We're going to be producing a little bit of extra content on there, so I hope you'll join us on there. We're actually going to record a video shortly, demoing the app a little bit and just showing you what it's all about if you haven't seen it before. But guys, I'm really excited by this. It's going to be huge for us, and you know, we've been doing this about 1.5 years now as a passion project from across the pond. 6 random UK Lions guys. Only me and Martin have now met, and that was only last bloody weekend for the Wembley game, which was terrific to do. But I can't really believe we've come to the point where a franchise legend has noticed that we exist, never mind come on board to do this thing. I mean, it's going to result in perhaps Herman or Lomas, you know, coming on the pod, maybe. We'll see what happens. But if you guys have any questions for those guys, it might be coming, so think about those. But Ant, Martin, it's massive for us.
Oh, God, yeah. I mean, when we started this, maybe 12, 13 months ago, whatever it was, I think, you know, we were just 6 guys sat around chatting about the Lions, and we had about 2 or 3 people listening to us every week that weren't us replaying it to get some likes up for the videos. But as we've gone along, it's just the amount of reception we've had, you know, especially from, you know, around the UK. So many fans from around Europe. I know people listen to us there, but you know, especially from over in America, we get a lot of listeners. I think about 60% of our listeners are from over in America now, and they've got so many great Detroit Lions podcasts to choose from over there. And to think that, you know, they think about coming over to listen to us and our views, it's really humbling. I mean, I never thought we'd have days where we'd be live streaming like this. We've got people in the chat who come here, want to converse with us, do all this on Twitter. The amount of interaction we get is insane. It's like a full-time job looking after that account now. Yeah, it's just I just don't think I can thank everyone who listens to us enough. I know I do it every week. You know, I think we just passed 7,000 audio listens, and we didn't pass 6,000 until about 4 weeks ago. It's just people are really taking us on. And for then someone like Herman to come along and go, well, you know, what you guys do is really good. It's unbelievable, really. You know, we, like you say, we do all this work out of passion. It's just a hobby for us. We're not media people or anything. And to get all this recognition, it's just amazing. So again, I just can't thank everybody enough for listening to us and bringing us to their attention. Because I know Kurt at Lions on the Prowl, those guys, they put in a word for us. It's like they didn't have to do that, but they enjoy listening to us. So it's a big thing. And yeah, just thank you to everybody who comes and listens to us. We love chatting Lions. We love chatting with you. Appreciate it so much.
I'm just going to use this as an opportunity to pay tribute to you two, really, because I think, you know, a lot of work has gone in. I go through a hibernation period at the end of the season until the start of the new season. And you two guys really were part of a big thing that kicked it all on. So, you know, a lot of it is testament to the hard work that you two have put in. So, yeah, you've got to take a lot of credit for that, I think.
But it takes a panel to make a show, though, Martin. So, you know, you are the guy who comes on here and keeps me and Matt in check when we get a little bit too excited and full of Kool-Aid. So, you know, it's all of us who do it at the end of the day. So
I think, you know, this started as just a sit around chat about, you know, sharing Sunday night depression. So, you know, for us to get to the situation where we are now, and you know, I mean, me and Matt obviously met last weekend, and there were a lot of Lions fans around, and some of which we had conversations with about, you know, not just the Lions, but the podcast, and, you know, a lot of interest in it. And it's becoming a really big game in this country. And I think that's only going to grow and grow. And hopefully a Lions Super Bowl mean the Lions fan base over here grows even more in the years to come.
Definitely, it was great to meet you, man. It was such a fun day. I mean, I was there's a phrase, pissed as a fart. If you've not heard that as an American, you have now. But I felt like I made a bit of an ass of myself, but it was a fucking cracking day. And what a game to watch as well. That, Dolphins-Jags game, it wasn't the most glamorous, and it had some pretty poor play in it, but it was back and forth, and last-minute field goal to win it. It was a nail-biter.
It's one of those things where you get a lot of people that don't have a big interest in American football, and then a number of people the week after said to me, "Oh wow, that looked really, that looked like really something," and they tuned in to watch some of the game. And I think the more people that are doing that, you can see from the crowd at the game that all 32 teams represented, and it's just such a real good event, and hopefully that grows to 3+ games next year, and one of which is the Lions, and it's just a great thing, and really enjoyable day out as well. Even if for those people that aren't massively into NFL, it really is a growing game in this country.
Definitely.
And if you want to support a team, even though we're not the most glamorous in the NFL, you're not going to get much better content than this on a Team and Knowledge. So you're part of a family here in the UK. I'm shamelessly plugging the podcast, but there you go.
Come start from the ground up. That's right.
It's a great community, and it's a great time to get on board. So pick us, please.
Right, that we're going to wrap it.
Just on that point, I just want to say, how many Lions fans at that game though?
Yeah, loads.
We saw loads. I would say easy in the top 10 from shirts representation. So
yeah, it's terrific. I mean, I think that having for me the best game in London ever really helps with that, because there's something about that game and how it finished in 2014 that has inspired a small generation of Lions fans in the UK, and they're becoming more visible, and it's a thing. It really is a thing. So it's really good to see. Right, we're going to wrap this here, and Martin's going to be taking a sabbatical because he's expecting the birth of a child next weekend. So congratulations, Martin. Good luck for that. And good luck for the sleepless nights. We'll see you back hopefully after the bye week at some point, but I hope it all goes really well for you, man.
Thank you.
Yep, congratulations, bud.
Got a couple of little Lions outfits ready to go as well, so that's all good.
Yeah, all right.
Get them started young before they can protest.
Yes. It's not child abuse, honest. The next episode on the main podcast is going to be this coming Thursday, 20th of October. It's the Eagles preview show, but don't forget about our college football podcast. On Wednesday, it's the Week 8 review. And Ant, what can we expect from this one? What happened last week? Another few upsets, I gather.
The top 25 teams are losing like it's going out of fashion. I think they said they're on record to have the most ranked teams beaten since records started in about 1936. So that just shows you what sort of an unpredictable season it is. But we're going to have a look through all the tables, the bowl predictions, etc. Just update people on what's going on, and we'll do the reviews. There are a lot of good games this weekend, but there's a lot of big ones coming up this week, none more so than the Michigan rivalry. The Wolverines and the Spartans are unbeaten, and I can tell you right now, we are completely sitting on the fence on that one. We're not even going to show a hint of favoritism to either side, because I know just how passionate the fans are over there, and I don't want them to be upset at us for picking sides. So that's going to be neutral, but it's going to be a great game to watch. I can tell you that much. College is just mental at the minute, and it's, they're over halfway through the season now, so it's starting to get to the business end. You're starting to see which players are showing up for the draft, whose stock's going up, whose stock's going down. So there'll be a lot to enjoy. So yeah, join us for that if you can. It'll be great.
I'm handily told by Google that a mix between green and blue is called cyan. So go cyan. They can't tie, but whatever. It's going to be an interesting one. Can't wait for that. 5 p.m. UK time, midday in the States on Saturday. It's going to be a massive, massive game for the state of Michigan. That's it. Come and join our Discord. It's going to be good fun. Really active, as I said at the top of the show. Watch party will start off at 5:45 UK time, 12:45. Hang on a minute. Clocks change, don't they, this weekend? Am I right?
Yeah, the game's at 5 o'clock our time.
Ooh, 4:45. 4:45 watch party starting 12:45 ET on this Sunday for the Eagles game. Come and join us. DM's open on Twitter. Hit us up if you want to join that. Otherwise, socials, Royal Lions UK, YouTube, Twitch, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, Facebook group for worldwide fans, Detroit Lions fans, UK One Pride Worldwide. You can see lots of updates from Ryan Farden, who went out to SoFi. He was featured in a couple of the photos that were on the big media outlets out there, him pointing out his England badge on his Lions uniform. I thought was a nice touch. So come and join us there. RoyalLionsUK.com. I've gotten a bit behind with my articles, but I'm going to get back on the horse. Don't forget to subscribe and rate us 5 stars on your podcast provider. Subscribe on YouTube. Hit that like button if you can. It'd be massive for us. Otherwise, just remains to me to thank, in absence, Ryan, celebrating his birthday, Martin, good luck with the baby, my man, and co-host extraordinaire. My name's Matthew Turner. Let's go Lions. Let's go Michigan. One Pride.
Oh, whoa.
Michigan as a state, not Michigan as a UMich. You know what I meant, man.
No, because when you say go Michigan, it means...
I know what I said
Wolverines.
now. I didn't mean it like that.
Go Michigan means Wolverine. You've just broke our neutrality.
Go Cyan.
It's go Michigan or go state. You know that.
Go Michigan
You should know
and
better.
state.
You should do a little video apologising to the Spartans fans amongst the fan base.
We're going now. Goodbye.
Oh, wait, we're still live?